guys, it's Alexis, aka The Soft Reader, and I'm here today to do my June review. So for those of you who've been on my channel for a while, you'll know that at the end of the month I always do a review where I basically talk about all of the things I watched, all the things I listened to, all the things I did in the month previous. This month, I didn't really do a lot of things. I mostly just watched a lot of things, but that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about, so we'll just go ahead and get into it. The first category I'm going to mention is all of the things I watched movie-wise this month. I saw 3 movies. I saw them all in theaters. The first movie I saw this month was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This, of course, being a sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy. You guys know I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's one of my favorite films. And I had waited to see this anticipated sequel until I could go see it with my brother because we both wanted to see it. And I have to admit, I really loved the sequel a lot. I don't like it more than I like the first movie, but I definitely think it's one of the better Marvel sequels, if not the best, if I'm being honest. I think it was a very top-notch movie. I think it was a great film. I thought it was funny. I thought it was action-packed. I liked that this one had a lot of story about the characters. And that we got to see, you know, a lot about Peter's backstory, and we got to see a couple of redemption arcs for certain characters that I really liked. One of the critiques I do have to give this movie, though, is that nearly every character in this movie had, like, a really touching moment, like a really deep emotional moment. And for me, it kind of felt too packed to put all of that in one movie. You know, Peter has a moment where he has a really emotional scene. Yondu has a moment like that. Rocket has a moment like that. Gamora and Nebula have a moment like that. So for me, as the movie was progressing and we kept getting into these really, not sappy, but these really emotional scenes, and like they kind of kept coming up, I kind of found that I was like, it's a little too much. 2 of them I kind of understood it being in this film. I was like, I get it. They make sense for the plot. But I felt like some of the other really emotional bits, I felt like really could have had a place in a next movie. So that's my one kind of big critique I do have to say about this film, is that kind of just the script overall and how it kept dipping into these emotional scenes was a little too much for me. Another thing I do have to critique this movie on was that the CGI was good for the most part, but there's this one scene where it looks so low budget. Like, I looked over to my brother and I was like, is it just me? Or is it blatantly obvious that these 2 people are standing in front of a green screen? And he was like, yeah, he was like, it's super distracting. He was like, that is the only thing I can look at. And I was like, yeah, I was like, that's really odd because the whole rest of the movie looks fine. It's just this one scene where it's like crazy, like not good. So that's another thing I do have to critique it on. The second movie I saw in theaters this month was Wonder Woman, and I freaking loved it. I went and saw Wonder Woman with my brother and a mutual friend of ours. And we all, across the board, when we walked out of the theater, we all really enjoyed it. We thought the acting was good, the script was good, the editing was fantastic on it, which I was so thankful to see because one of my huge critiques with Batman v Superman was the editing in it was atrocious. But the editing in Wonder Woman was good. It was to the level it should have been in Batman v Superman. I thought that, you know, I thought it was super feminist. To me, I thought the feminism was subtle, but definitely there. I thought the fight scenes were really cool. The critique I do have is that a lot of the fight scenes are done in slow motion, and I think they did that a few too many times. Every fight scene has a scene where it like dips into slow-mo, and it felt a little overdone. But aside from that, I thought a lot of the acrobatic fighting was super cool. I thought a lot of the plot points were really good. I really liked a lot of the risks that the script takes in certain story elements. I really enjoyed. And overall, yeah, I thought Wonder Woman was excellent. I at first wasn't sure if I was gonna like Justice League when it came out. This makes me a little bit more hopeful that it'll be good, because after Batman v Superman I was like ooh, I don't think I'm gonna like any of these movies, but Wonder Woman proved me wrong because I absolutely loved it. The last movie I saw in theaters this month, you know, I was doing so well. I saw 2 movies I really, really enjoyed, and I knew it wasn't gonna last. So the last movie I saw, which I also saw with my brother, was It Comes at Night. Now, I thought It Comes at Night was a horror film. That is what the trailer, in my opinion, pitches it as a horror film. That's what I thought it was going to be. It's not. Don't go into this movie expecting a horror film, because that's not what you're gonna get. It's really more of a psychological thriller, and for me, even on that, it didn't deliver. I just, you know, at first I was kind of really into it, but as the movie was progressing, it just started to go really downhill for me personally. They would have these really, really tense moments, and nothing would really come from them. The tension would kind of just dissipate without really any payoff. So that was disappointing. Most of this movie is just talking. There's really not a lot of action until the last like 15 minutes of it, which is a little disappointing because I don't feel that even that was payoff enough for the, you know, rest of the film. This book pretty much gives you a plot but doesn't give you any backstory or gives you any idea of really what's going on. It's told in a future where some sort of disease has obviously killed a bunch of people. So this family has secluded themselves in their house and they block all the windows off. They wear gas masks when they go outside, obviously trying to avoid infection. Which is interesting. That's such an interesting premise, but it doesn't, there's really no information there. You really only get to see small glimpses of what this disease does. They don't really tell you how it's transmitted, how it functions, you know, what happens to you when you get it. And a lot of the tension that typically comes from this like post-apocalyptic type story just wasn't there. And just overall, this one was just not a hit for me. I just didn't think it was very good. I know I checked some ratings online from other people who, a lot of, you know, non-film critics have not given it a very high rating. Unfortunately, it doesn't get a very high rating from me either. The next thing I'm gonna mention is the TV shows I watched this month. I watched pretty much 2 TV shows, but they kind of fall into the same category. And that is, I watched the second to last most recent season of Food Network Star, and I also started watching Worst Cooks in America. Both of these are Food Network shows. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge Food Network fan. I've watched Food Network since I was very young, and I can just put on Food Network and watch whatever's on. It's entertaining for me. So I've always been a fan of Food Network Star, but I had been behind in a couple of seasons, so I did catch up on one season, and I had never seen Worst Cooks in America before. So I was like, you know what, I was like, let's give this a shot. Food Network Star is basically where a bunch of people compete to have their own TV show on Food Network. And like the judges are Bobby Flay and Giada, who are huge Food Network names. And it's really fun. It's interesting to see these people cook under pressure and that kind of thing. Worst Cooks in America stars Anne Burrell, who's a famous chef, and other famous chefs. In the seasons I've watched, it's been Bobby Flay and Tyler Ferguson, who are also big names in Food Network. And basically each season they each get 2 teams of 7 people, and they compete. These groups of people they bring in are the Worst Cooks in America. These are people who are nominated by family and friends for being terrible cooks. And basically over the course of the season, Anne and Bobby, or Anne and Tyler, fight to try and mold these cooks into master chefs, basically. It's funny to me. It is so hilarious to me, especially those first few episodes each season where these people are brought in and they're like, oh, we're gonna teach you how to fillet a fish. And these people are like, do what with a fish? Because like, I am no stretch of the imagination to cook. But even like, I know a lot of the information that these people have like no clue about. And so it's so funny to me when they're like, I don't know how to boil an egg. And you're like, what? You don't know how to boil an egg? It's like the easiest thing to do. So it's super funny, and I've been enjoying watching Worst Cooks in America. I watched like 3 seasons just this month alone. So yeah, big fan. Big fan of Food Network in general. So if you are also a big fan of Food Network, please talk to me about Food Network, because I love it. The next thing I'm going to mention is an anime I started watching this month that a friend of mine really, really loves. So she finally was like, hey, dropping some hints, like maybe you should watch it. And so finally I just went ahead and started it. It was the first 2 seasons were on Hulu, so I went Sure, and that was Boku no Hero Academia, or My Hero Academia. I've seen this on Tumblr, it's huge on Tumblr, so I've always seen it around and I always had the intention to finally checking it out, but I just decided to, you know, bite the bullet and get to it this month. This basically follows our main character, Midoriya, and he wants to be a superhero. That is the only thing he's wanted his entire life. And he has a superhero he looks up to named All Might, who is basically known as like the greatest superhero. In this world, 80% of people have a special ability called a quirk that allows them basically to become a superhero. For Midoriya, he is quirkless. He does not have a quirk. And so that kind of really dampens his dream to be a hero. So it's a lot about Midoriya on the fight to be his dream hero, as he kind of discovers that he has the ability to gain a quirk. That's all I'll say because I don't want to spoil it. It's a huge spoiler. If you've watched any action anime, you know, or read any action manga, you know that people who think they don't have superpowers is not a typical thing. The hero usually always has a power, right? So in that tropey sense, there are a lot of little tropes here and there, but I do appreciate what My Hero Academia does to try and play off of a lot of really common superhero tropes, which is a thing that I really, really loved about One Punch Man too. So yes, so I watched the first season of My Hero Academia, and I'm halfway through season 2. I think I'm on episode 16 or possibly 17. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I wouldn't be like, oh, it's my favorite thing ever. It's not. It's enjoyable, and I'm interested to see where the story goes. I may go ahead and pick up the manga too once I catch up on the anime. But yeah, it's really interesting. I definitely would say to check it out. If you're a fan of superheroes or a fan of kids with super abilities, so X-Men style, I definitely would recommend checking it out. And don't let the almost cute art style fool you. There are a lot of really serious topics dealt with in this show, and the characters pretty much all have tragic backstories, so prepare yourself for that. Alright guys, so those were all of the things I basically watched in the month of June, because that's all I did. I read books and I watched and I worked. So June was not an exciting month for me. Like I said, I work 7 days a week, so I just watched stuff whenever I got the chance. But you guys should let me know down below maybe what's the best movie you watched this month, or if you want to talk to me about any of the things I watched, I'd greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!